how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Today I'm talking to Jose Garcia. How you doing?
Hey, John, thanks for having me.
Oh,
I'm
no.
doing great and happy to be here.
Oh, cool. That avatar is just so freaky looking. So introduce yourself. I always try to make a policy that every video, everything I do is somebody's first time. So who are you?
So my name is Jose Garcia. I'm a comic book artist and I'm an animator. I've been working for the last 16 years in the industry, working in animation in studios like Netflix, DreamWorks. I've been doing some stuff for independent comics. I've been working for Comixology Originals. I work for France. I work for the Boom Studios. I work on different different small publishers. First Second Book is a big one with the YA stuff, and I've been doing everything. I mean, from making comics to making branding, kind of making T-shirts for DC and Marvel.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I work for Lego. I work for My Little Pony. I work for a lot of shows as a storyboard artist and as a background artist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love making comics, and I want to do some of that on my own. So that's what I went.
Right here.
Oh, Lumina Box.
Lumina Box, and I got volume 2.
Awesome.
And you also, I don't know if you did this for everybody, but you sent in my 8-bit story too.
Yeah, I did that. That was my first original comic. Like that was like maybe
2016. It says
2016. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
I didn't know you were an animator, but when I was reading this, I mean, just I was reading this, and I was like, this is like a cartoon. It was animated. Like the pages seemed to move on the page. So I was like, wow, this guy's got to be in animation. And I didn't know that. And forget about it. This moved it. Well, this was easy because there's no words in the comic.
No dialogue whatsoever.
There's no dialogue in the comic except for maybe a sound effect or two. And
yep.
It goes by really quick. So this was the closest to an animated comic book that I've ever read.
Yeah, man.
Which also so now that answers a couple of questions. I was going to ask you, how did you get some of the characters in this book? I mean, you got like Link you got all the
all the Nintendo stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was this at the time I was doing this. This was pretty much like I was studying animation at the time. I did that first comic. It was supposed to be an animated short, so I did all my storyboards. I was planning this for animation, but time-wise, I wasn't able to animate all of this. So I decided I have all the storyboards, so why not make it a comic, right? I love comics. Yeah.
Okay. The answer is always more simple than I'm imagining in my head.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's pretty simple, and I got the characters at the time I finished. I post this as a webcomic for a while, so I was on the webcomic scene like around the time where the Clownfish guys were around, and around and the other big webcomics where we were posting at the same time in the same places. So that was pretty awesome. And once I finished, I started a Kickstarter. I wasn't aware. Indiegogo didn't really was available for Mexico. It isn't still yet. So I couldn't post it there. So I had a Kickstarter, and we got the goal, and it was printed. I still have like a couple. Maybe a couple hundred, maybe 200 books lying here in my house. And
you're doing all the fulfillment yourself?
Yeah, I did it. I'm a one-man show, so I do ink. I draw, I ink, and I color. I do the print files. I do the text. I do the story. I do the shipping myself.
I'm not doing justice, but look at the colors. So do you
Thanks, man.
do you write in Spanish and translate it to English, or
No, I write in English, but as you may have seen, there's some problems. I have like maybe 5 or 6 kind of typos there
Yeah, I
because
didn't want to bring it up.
yeah,
I didn't want to bring it up, but I noticed I was like this. There's a few points where I'm like, oh, this was mistranslated.
yeah, it was mistranslated because I usually I tried getting some people to read it beforehand, some English speaking people, but I only got my Mexican friends to read it. So yeah, so they made the same mistakes I did, and I ended up putting it on an AI bot to check the spelling, and after I finished, after it was printed, I saw that it mistranslated some stuff and
Uh,
changed some of the stuff, and I
it
didn't.
wasn't a big deal, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh well, thanks, man. Yeah, I was kind of scared because it took like a while to make this comic, and just to have some issues at the very end
Yeah,
on
you
the
want it to be
text.
perfect. I understand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I wanted. Yeah,
but
but
yeah, what's the expression? You can't let the perfect get in the way of the. I don't know. There's an expression that if you try to make things perfect, you paralyze yourself.
oh yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm a crazy person about printing.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time I mention Alterna Comics, I always mention how I just love the printing. But this, as you can tell, I'm rubbing it. You can feel it's textured. You know, I imagine you must have paid a pretty penny to get that. You know.
Well, here in Mexico, printing is. I talk with the people around the indie scene. So printing in Mexico is actually cheaper. So, but what kills you, what actually kind of levers you, kind of to the brings you to the same level of as the US, is the shipping cost. So the shipping costs are very high, but the printing is very low. So it evens out, you know.
But it's such good quality. So maybe front load or offset the shipping with this great quality. I mean, these are really really well. The paper's great.
Thanks a lot.
The colors look here. I'm looking at it. I'm not showing the people, but the colors are outstanding on this. As I was reading Luna Vox, I'm like, I felt like I was like tripping.
Yeah, everyone says that.
Everybody says, okay, good. I'm not the elite, but this page, oh God, I'll try to hold it up, but I don't think the camera's picking it up. But the line work of all this little detailing. I mean, geez.
All the little souls. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what you'd call them, but there's like little squiggles. It look, as I'm holding it up, it looks like a white page, but when you look at your eyes, it's all like squiggles and it almost look like cellular organism. Jeez, it's so detailed.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's really cool. Really, really cool. So what's the story of Luna Vox? I've been talking too much.
Yeah, so Lumina Box is pretty much kind of like this big space opera. Like we have these outsider gods that come from another universe, and there's a big war. And there's a big war against us, against them. So you pretty much have the story of Mia, which is the red little character, and she's called the Lumina. And the way these gods from another universe are getting into ours or into hers, her universe, is pretty much like taking possession and of a vessel, and they are being given birth. Swallowing souls from different life beings from this reality, and they come into existence. And there's this other there's 3 stories that we are following and will be following in Lumina Box. And one is the story of Mia, which only wants to she doesn't know what's happening. She just wants to help her family. Yeah, she just wants to help the souls of her family. She just wants them to either revive them or set them free because they are inside the monster's belly, you know?
Right.
And
yeah, she's like an innocent caught up in all of this. You feel
yeah,
bad for her.
she's our window to this universe because like her, we don't know what's happening all around. And we have the second story, the storyline that's going on. It's Praetor Ragnar. And Praetor Ragnar and kind of the guys from the Coalition of Galaxies are kind of this big government that's going on around space, and they try to gather up so they can fight these monsters, and they want to preserve life in this universe. And you have the other faction, which is the Abyssal Hunters, which are kind of the God Killers, and they are these kind of mavericks around the world, around the universe, that are feared because they come from a place called the Void, and no one knows what the hell is the Void, and people are scared of them. They treat them like monsters, even though we never see what's behind their their high tech armor, right?
Right. Yeah. One of them was bragging that the suits of armor could defeat a whole planet or something like that. Vastly. And one of the things I did like about this, besides this wonderful art and the wonderful printing, and the wonderful coloring,
thanks,
is you're not sure who the good guys are. Like, even the good guys kind of are scary, and even the bad guys are kind of have good intentions.
Yep.
And Lumina, this little girl over here, you kind of rooting for her, but if she succeeds, it's like the death of everything. So
yep. Yeah, it's a very complicated story. Yeah. So
it's like the little Lovecraft story I've ever read.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so I didn't want to dumb it down, and one of my jobs working on animation for a while, maybe I was like maybe 8 months working at DreamWorks, and you have this department called the story department. And in the story department, you have one job, which is pretty much, there's different kind of jobs, kind of character designer, prop designer, and there's one dream job, which everybody wants, which I got, which is pretty much developing new IPs. So you have free leeway. You pretty much have like free reins to create a whole universe. You have to create the whole lore. You have to create the world building. You design the characters, you design the environments, you design everything. So I did that for 8 months straight. So I've been having kind of this experience working professionally, building worlds, and doing all this complex stuff. You just have to kind of dumb it down for kids because it's approved by the board, kind of on that kind of on DreamWorks, on all these animation studios. So pretty much this was I had the exact same process, but this was mine, so I didn't have anyone telling me, oh, these kids will not understand it, it's too bloody, it's too this.
We forget kids are smart. Kids are smart. They'll
Yep.
figure it out, and even if they don't figure it out, they'll watch it again. Like like the very first Star Wars movies.
Yeah,
there was a lot going on, and I was 9 years old when that came out. And I loved it. I watched it. I didn't understand it all, but I watched it. I'm trying to think. Like, The Hobbit was a children's book. And geez, you read that they're talking about.
What I love about
history of the elves and
of
stuff.
The elves, yeah. Yeah, what I love about that is that
if kids like it, they'll stick with it.
It sticks with you because you have this kind of outer-worldly feeling that there's something more to it, right? And you just don't get it. And once you get back to it, man, it's awesome.
Right. I was a little kid watching the original Star Trek, trying to figure out the big philosophical thing. I think one of the big mistakes now is we dumb things down for kids.
Oh, a lot, man. Yeah.
We treat kids like idiots.
Yep.
We got to treat kids like kids, but we shouldn't treat them like they're idiots. When we were kids, black and white comics like Savage, Two Famous Monsters, were all gory and violent. Yeah, we loved it. Yeah. Things were different when we were kids. So we used to watch scary things. I was just talking about this with a friend the other day. The stuff that we watched as children, they wouldn't show it to kids today.
Oh yeah, man. When I was like maybe 9 or 10, I saw the first 2 Hellraiser movies, and I was like, whoa! The labyrinth scene in Hellraiser 2 got me like that's like, you can see some of that stuff in the white space in Lumina Box, because I was like stoked, right? Like I was like, what the hell is even that? And it was so ominous and so, I don't know, awesome, otherworldly. So it stuck with me. So I always love that kind of white spaces, kind of giving the creeps. Kind of like complete darkness. I don't care much about it. Like if it's pitch black, like it's like, oh yeah, it's pitch black, but it is pitch white. Everything, like it gives me more kind of this uncanny feeling,
Yeah,
uncanny valley feeling. You know?
yeah. Well, they say in some cultures that white is the color of death.
Yeah.
So I can imagine. Like now that you make me think about it, if I was in a room and everything was white and all I could see was white, I think I'd freak out. I think what I understand darkness. I know what darkness is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is pretty creepy. So I was saying before, and then I distracted myself. But Lumina Box, as I was reading it, I was like, this is more of like a European comic than an American comic.
It's kind of more like fusion between manga, European comics, and American comics because
Yeah, it is. It pretty much is.
yeah, I love kind of all of this. All of this. I got into comics with American comics, with Batman, Superman here in Mexico, but at the same time that those were at the same time that we got the Death of Superman, we got Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball from the start, not Dragon Ball Z, like the OG Dragon Ball, and it was a linear story. It has like a beginning, an ending, and then you got Dragon Ball Z, and we have all these old animes that came like 10 years later to the US. So we got like all the classics from Japan here and Mexico first, and we have like we didn't have floppies per se. We had like all these paperbacks full of storylines.
Okay.
So whenever you read kind of like this, one of my favorite comics of all time was Emerald. What's the Green Lantern? Emerald Twilight, where Hal Jordan goes crazy.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I had that. That was kind of one of my first comics. We had my very first comics. My three first comics was the Death of Superman, Nightfall, Batman's Nightfall, and Emerald Twilight. And they were these gritty, very gritty stories when the characters fell or die or went crazy. And at the same time, we had kind of like all these bloody anime going on the on TV. Like we have Dragon Ball, which had fights. We had Saint Seiya, which is pretty much very bloody. Like you have people losing their sight, people kind of putting a punch and grabbing someone's heart, and everything's very graphic, and the blood is very red. And every time that they kind of the gimmick of Saint Seiya was whenever they fought, they always lose their senses. Kind of like their six senses, and the whole point is about Saint Seiya is you have to awaken your seventh sense so you can fight kind of like the bigger guys, But we have like these very bloody fights. We have these kind of story progression storylines. So it was way different than the US.
Yeah, for the American comics are by design, they never end. They keep going. They're almost like Chuck Dixon said. They have the illusion of change, but not really change.
Yeah, it's after a while, it's very frustrating, to be honest.
Yeah,
because I saw how people treat the stories, and they pretty much treat it like a KFC, right, or a McDonald's. So it's like cheap, fast storylines, and they never change the recipe. So well. Right now they change it and people are pissed, but the characters never change, right? The characters are always in this limbo, and they are always one of the things about building a business or doing any activity is that if you don't feel progress, if you feel stagnation, you feel incredibly how can I put it? You get frustrated, right? You get frustrated, you get angry, you get depressed. So it's pretty weird because we had The thing that made me kind of want to jump into comics was the animated series, right? So we had Spider-Man, 90s Spider-Man and
Yeah.
90s X-Men, and in my head canon, like the first X-Men was leading up to the big ending whenever they fought Apocalypse, right?
Yeah.
And the last Spider-Man kind of the story was pointing to Spider-Man kind of getting into the multiverse and fighting this multiversal threat, and meeting Stan Lee on the last episodes. And you have kind of this progressive storyline that keeps escalating stuff. But at the end of the day, I really love those stories, and I bought the comics for that because I thought that since I grow up with story progressing and characters changing, I always wanted to see like Mary Jane and Peter getting married. Like that's something I really wanted to see on the
Yeah, most
series.
fans did, and then they ruined it.
And then and then when I jump into comics and start buying the same storylines, I'm seeing they're kind of different, but they're still cool. They're actually better than the series, right? And whenever I got to the point that I saw new stuff for X-Men, my next big thing was Strife, right? I really love the story about Strife, all the all the stuff that kept progressing after Apocalypse and all that stuff. And I thought for a while, and I've been collecting a lot of comics, that this story was heading somewhere. And I really love X-Men because it has the more story progression amongst all the others, right? Like
Yeah.
Spider-Man, it was like really good, and then they got all the clones stuff, and I stopped at the clones. Whenever they got Jackal and the clones, I was like, yeah, you lost me. I love some stuff I've seen. I love Ben Reilly. I love that he had a daughter, and I love all the kind of little glimpses we see from Spider-Man when there was this whole onslaught kind of this event. Like that was kind of my favorite, my peak Marvel kind of moment that I really love whenever they join forces to fight Onslaught.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is where this is story progression. This is where everyone gather ups and everyone kind of this is kind of like this is going to make the characters move forward. And then what we got? Heroes Reborn. And yeah, man, Heroes Reborn was, oh yeah, it was pretty awful.
Yeah. That's the first time I quit comics. You know, I
Yep.
always come back, but that was the first time I quit comics. I was like, I said it before, and I'll say it again. I wasn't a big fan of the early Image comics. Like to me,
Oh yeah, no, me
it was an
too.
exceptional comic that was good, but you know,
I couldn't follow the stories. They were pretty lame, to be
yeah, they
honest.
were hard to read. They were all a bunch of artists.
Yep.
You know, and they didn't know how to tell a story. And then you open up the book, it was, oh look, a splash page. Oh look, a two-page
Yep.
spread. Oh look, another splash page. But there was no stories.
At that time, like I'm pretty much like manga inspired, so I was like, I liked what they did on Image and stuff, but I fell in love with Joe Mad art.
Yeah, he was one of the exceptional ones. Like Battle
Yeah.
Chasers was a great comic.
Battle Chasers was kind of it's kind of the best drawn comic, well, one of the best drawn comics from that era.
Yeah,
and
it told a story.
yeah, and he could tell a really great story.
Yeah.
I mean, he was taking from Warhammer 40K, which I grow up to love, and he was
Okay, I was gonna ask you that.
oh
'Cause
man,
this is Warhammer 40K meets HP Lovecraft meets My Little Pony.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, man, I've been reading, and after kind of losing my love for comics for a while, I mean, manga and anime, I haven't stopped. I've been watching that for as long as I can remember, and I will still be doing that. But whenever I found out about Warhammer 40K, it was like, this is peak, kind of like American culture, kind of this kind of I don't know, military awesome stuff from the 80s, but kind of with this long-term anime manga kind of storytelling. So I fell in love right into it, and some fights are straight up from either a very great American comic or a very great manga. So the fights are amazing, and I've been reading the audiobooks for a while. I'm trying to catch up. I will never catch up, but there's something that's one love I have for the entirety of Warhammer 40k. Like
Do you
it
play
has
the game?
everything. No, I'm not a tabletop gamer because
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't have much
You
friends.
can see I got tabletop games behind me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
but I
and it
won't play
was
Warhammer. I like it, but
yeah.
geez, I don't want to go broke. I want to be able to pay
Yeah,
my mortgage.
exactly. Yeah, that's plastic crack, man. So it was cost prohibitive to us, right? Because you have the thing. Whenever I went to my local comic book shop, it's that pretty much you have always the Warhammer stuff kind of behind the counter, so you could never really grab it because it was so expensive, and you could buy like maybe like 10, 20, 50 comics with the same amount of money for a
Yeah,
starter pack. Yeah, you know?
I have a couple of Warhammer based board games, but it's you just buy one box and you get everything. You don't have to paint the minis, and I mean you could always paint the minis, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
But when I was in college, I lived in a house. This is out in New Mexico. We had this big, beautiful house, and
Mhm.
the dining room was the Warhammer room. And my three roommates, they all day long, they would wake up, they weren't going to school. I just lived with them, so they would do their jobs, come home, paint their minis, and then have these elaborate wars. They had maps like that they would
Awesome.
make maps in the dining room. Like we had china cabinets, but there was no dishes or anything in it. It was just painted Warhammer figures, because it was their grandmother's house. So it looked like an old lady's house, but the china cabinets were filled with Warhammer, and they played and they talked about the lore that either they were making up or part of the rules. And it was so much fun. But I was like, this was college. I was lucky at the end of the month if I had $6 left.
Yeah.
So, but I was always interested. Now I moved out here, and I met a group of guys that are all into Warhammer. There's a Warhammer gaming place like within walking distance of my house. You go
Nice.
there on the weekends, and it's just one of my buddies is like a captain. He organizes events, and he 3D prints terrain and paints them, and it is amazing. And I'll go and watch, but I know me. I'll get addicted, and that's it. I'll have a YouTube channel about Warhammer. You know what I mean? And I can't get into that black hole.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Like, yeah, it's kind of the thing is that I mean, I have friends that like Warhammer, and I've been commissioned Warhammer art, and
Cool.
yeah, it's one of my favorite things. And the thing is that everyone is from the U.S., and all of them, no exception, have come from a military background. Now, like they have served, and they've been deployed, and they've been stationed on somewhere, and they have at least they've been in the army, and they did talk me about the first thing whenever I got into 40k was kind of this a YouTuber called Lutin9, and he was talking about the God Emperor of Mankind, and and that just drove me in, and just started liking Warhammer kind of groups on Facebook and stuff. And I post my art, and some guys told me like, "Oh man, your drawings are really cool. Could you draw this scene for me?" And and we started talking like, "Hey man, I just saw this video, and I don't care. You could commission you can commission me anything, or let's make a trade-off. Like tell me more about the lore, and I will draw it for free, because this universe, it's so enticing that I really want to get in." And I have like like paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs, and then they stopped because they have to either be stationed somewhere or something, and they just keep going. They just keep going with the lore, and with just an occasional you still there, man? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just still there. And yeah, we were talking a lot about that, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of my military friends. I was never in the military, but a lot of my military friends, they said they played a lot of Dungeons Dragons and a lot of Warhammer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I come from the D&D community.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, yeah. So I don't really know much, but about well, I like lore, but I don't play tabletop games. I'm much of a PlayStation, Nintendo kind of gamer. I like video games. I not much kind of the tabletop stuff,
Like,
but
yeah, I can tell from this. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I mean, love it. And yeah, so I've been talking with a lot of guys, and they told me about their D&D campaigns, and everyone, or at least the bigger clients I have from that kind of niche, is pretty much all the guys from the military. Like, they all have their pensions, and all they have like this kind of sense of wonder, I guess. It's kind of cool that all these guys that have traveled the world and seen other cultures, like, they have this sense of wonder that makes them
Yeah.
kind of want to see more, no, want to see
You're
something.
absolutely right, because a lot of my military, you have the stereotype that the military guys are just like,
Stern, yeah.
stern, unimaginative drones or whatever, but they're not. All the military guys that I've been friends with, that I had the pleasure to meet, they're very philosophical. They're filled with wonder. They love the world. And then all of that imagination, and then they say that there's a lot of hurry up and wait in the military. It gets focused into like, all right, let's focus this imagination that they'll be stationed someplace boring, and all you really need is a couple of pencils, some dice, and you're playing Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. So guys that I never thought in a million years. Matter of fact, I'm a construction worker, and I was working on a job, and everybody teases me because I wear everything on my sleeve. They know I'm a comic book nerd. They know I'm a Dungeons and Dragons nerd. You know what I mean? I don't care. Make fun of me. I don't care. I'm one of 7 kids. We you got to have strong skin.
Yeah.
And they were all busting my chops. And there was this one guy who just he got out of the military, and this guy was just
jacked,
ripped. He didn't talk about what he did. He's one of those guys. You knew he saw some real serious stuff because you don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And he was like quiet, just listen to everybody. And he walked up to me, and he's a scary dude. I'm staring at his Adam's apple, just a big guy, ripped. And he goes, "You play Dungeons and Dragons?" I'm like, yeah. And he goes, "We got to talk." He goes, I play I have a 12th level paladin, and he just started talking about everything.
Nice.
And everybody was just like, because nobody talked to him because he's very intimidating, and now he's but all the military guys. All right, so what does Bill Robinson say? John, how did you make it all the way to Heroes before you quit? I'm real close to your age. I quit when all the Young Image guys left Marvel, even Bill, the late 90s Marvel, the Tom DeFalco years was, I thought that was the lowest point until Heroes Were Born showed me how low they can go.
Yeah.
Now it's even lower. But yes, there was low points. I've always been collecting comics in my life, but it hasn't always been easy, Bill. there's been rough times. John and I are old. We remember quality. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know how old you are, Jose, but it sounds like you know some good stuff too.
Well, we got it later here in Mexico, so I'm 34 right now. I'm gonna turn 35 in November, so next month.
I'll be, my birthday's December.
Nice. So pretty much what we got, like, everything very late. So you had it in the 90s, and we got it in the 2000s.
And you said you got it collected, like you didn't get floppies. You got
for a while. I mean, the whole DC stuff was because I love DC. I mean, when I dropped Marvel, I went straight up into DC and never came back. So I'm more of a DC guy than a Marvel, but I got my starts in Marvel. And the thing is that all the DC stuff were paperbacks, like very big paperbacks, like kind of like omnibus level paperbacks.
Okay.
So we got like the whole story for maybe let's say you have the whole you have like 4 tomes for the Batfall, the Nightfall, from Batman, and it was like maybe like $2.50.
Nice.
So it was like super cheap getting comics here. Like that's what I love here. And then Marvel started releasing floppies, and yeah, we got it in the newsstands, and everywhere you were here around Mexico. Whenever you in the 2000s, we have a lot of newsstands. So whenever I went from school, from middle school to my house, and whenever I was hanging out with my friends, there was always a newsstand kind of there. They were always there. They always had comics. They have manga. They have kind of these European comics. We had Lucky Luke. We have kind of what's the name of this one? Le Baron. We had kind of like the Jodorowsky, Alejandro Jodorowsky,
Oh,
the Meta Barons, and we have like kind of
yeah, Meta
everything.
Barons. This reminds me of Meta Barons too, in a
Yeah,
way. Yeah,
yeah. It was kind of like the stuff I was reading when I was in middle school.
yeah. So were there are there comic stores in Mexico?
Just a few, because here in Mexico there's only in Mexico City there's maybe three, and everyone goes there. So you have kind of like the central, which was called Comic Castle, and
Okay.
Comic Castle was kind of it was this very cool building, everything made out of red brick. It was big, not as big as some stores in the U.S., but it was kind of decent, and they had like this very awesome kind of dragon head like on top of everything, and they have posters, they have all the figurines, and whenever you wanted to get something, you would go to Comic Castle Central. So it was in downtown of the city, so it was accessible to everyone. It was outside kind of like of this subway station, so so you could get outside of the subway. You could get into the subway, just go out, and you just find the comic book store there. And it was kind of this kind. Let's say it was around everything around it was kind of this shopping district area.
Okay.
So it was very crowded. So you have like a lot of normies going in there. You have kind of people that went shopping for figurines, for all that stuff, because it was kind of our culture is different. You know how you say that being kind of working in construction and talking about nerdy stuff, kind of it's kind of like got people kind of like giving you the weird eye. But here in Mexico, it's not like that. It like we don't have kind of this class separation. We didn't grow up with kind of like the stereotypes with the bullies and the nerds and all that stuff. Like you could be friends with the richest guy from from a private school, and nobody will say that. And for example, everyone who works in construction, because I did work in construction when I was 14 to 17. So I
Okay.
worked like 3 years in construction, trying to pay, help paying the bills on my house.
Yeah.
So when I was working on construction, like everyone loved Dragon Ball Z. Everyone loved Dragon Ball Z. Everyone loved Dragon Ball. So whenever you start talking about Dragon Ball, everyone will gather up and start, talking about the series, getting excited, and playing around. Who could carry the more, the
Who's the
uh,
strongest?
yeah, who's the strongest? And we were carrying like buckets of how do you call it? The
Cement.
ah, yeah, the cement. Yeah, so we were carrying buckets of cement, like, oh yeah, we're gonna power up and all that stuff. And it was all fun and games in Mexico. So it wasn't like we didn't have all those kind of stigma around nerd
Yeah,
culture, because everyone grew with it.
it
Yeah.
seems like nowadays it's more like what you were describing. But when I was a kid, it was definitely clicky. The sports guys kept to the sports guys. The comic book nerds stayed with the comic book nerds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when I was in high school, junior high school, I was on the football team, but I was also a D&D kid. And
Yeah.
this was mean, but I was afraid of my D&D friends. I was
Yeah.
afraid of my sports friends finding out that I was a D&D kid. So I kept it separate, you know, and I guess I was kind of a jerk. And then one day the sports guys, they came over my house to come and get me. And I was laid in my bed reading Daredevil comics. And when they opened the door, they're like, "Oh, comics! Oh, wow, I love these." And I realized I was so afraid of my worlds colliding, and it didn't mean anything. They, you know.
Yeah, that's kind of the that's kind of the vibe I always got from from America, you know, like they got like this very, like you could see it in the 80s movies, and I could never get that. Like I was on the I was kind of like in this athleticism running kind of I was a runner, and I was playing football, as everyone does.
Yeah.
So we were in the sports team, and we were talking about Dragon Ball. We were talking about Saint Seiya. We were talking about Batman. I'm a very big Batman fan. So we were talking about all this, and there was never a problem, or even the girls never laugh at you because they had Sailor Moon. So they have Sailor Moon. The girls had Sailor Moon, and the boys had Dragon Ball. So it was pretty popular. Even though I always draw, I've been drawing from since I was a kid. So I was always the kid who draws. So all the girls,
I was always drawing too, but I never got any good.
Oh yeah, take time then, and it's still time. There's a lot of time to you know, to learn about that stuff. There's a lot of stuff right now that makes it very easy to learn. But you know, the girls, usually you will think that they will stay away from the nerds who's always drawing, but it was the exact opposite. You know, like my very first girlfriend, I met her because she wanted me to draw some Sailor Moon for her. and you know, and we were talking, and it was kind of normal. And I always was one of those guys who had I always been around like all the different kind of groups. Like I was always in the middle. I was friend with the jocks. I was friend with the nerds. I was friend with all the girly girls. I was friend with the outcasts, with the punks. So everyone kind of saw drawing like a superpower, and like, they always wanted,
Like with Paul's comment right here. I'll get back to Kevin's question in a minute, but what Paul says, the popularity of video games broke down the barriers.
Yep.
That anime, I have to agree. I was going to say that, and then his question popped up. I mean, the statement popped up. I do think that. I think once everybody started playing video games, and the video games look like manga and anime, and you know, and then next thing you know, everybody's playing SpiderMan. I really do think that broke it down. Like
it became mainstream.
Yeah, and you know, but you said 80s movies. 80s movies, I think the 80s was like the high point of this compartmentalized cliques of schools. You know, the jocks, the losers, the punks. You know, and then you know the 90s. I was in college. That was a little different. And then the 2000s, I was an adult working. So but my nieces and nephews, they'll play sports. They'll talk comics. You know, they'll play board games. They'll play, you know, video games, and they're all friends. There's no differentiation between the groups anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And now Kevin wants to ask you, how much were Mexican comics in the 90s?
Mexican comics, like we had a little set of different stuff, right? So we had like the floppies, which were around you know, counting as today's dollar, we were around like maybe 20 cents per floppy. You had like these big paperbacks that were like the max. I mean, you have like the biggest ones. They were like $3 maybe, and you have like a page count of around maybe 300 or 400 maybe.
Wow, that sounds like they were good value.
They were big, and you had manga, and you have the manga stuff was always more expensive than comics. So you could buy like a Sailor Moon manga, and that was like maybe $2.50. So they have like 150 pages. They like Marvel and DC was kind of more cheap, and they brought like you had a lot more content. but manga was kind of rare, and everybody wanted that. So we have a very thriving manga industry right
Yeah,
here. You know.
I don't know anything about the Mexican comic book scene, so I'm learning this from you. But it sounds like you had all the types of comics. You said you like Lucky Luke, like somebody,
Yeah.
Kevin said, yeah, Lucky Luke is very popular in Italy and almost unknown in the U.S. Yeah, the only reason why I know Lucky Luke is I'm really into comics, so I've been looking around for comics that I don't know anything about. But the casual comic book fan in America doesn't know anything about this, or like I'm looking around. Like I just ordered Blue Coats. It's an Italian comic based on the Civil War in America. You know what I mean?
Nice. Yeah.
And so like, is this? It sounds like in Mexico you could go into that. What was it called? Castle Comics.
Comic Castle. Yeah.
Comic Castle. And they would have manga and European comics and everything all there, and the kids would buy them all.
Yeah, exactly. And as I told, it was in a commercial area, so it was in front of everyone. Like you could always tell, like everyone was looking at Comic Castle because of the big dragon.
Yeah,
like what the hell?
Big thing
like,
to notice, right?
That's very cool. And you kind of walk and see the door, and it was kind of filled with posters of Jim Lee manga, kind of like you have this big Adam Hughes Power Girl, which I really love that cover. And we also have Mexican comics, going on the newsstands. So those were around maybe like as the dollar is today, right now, maybe like 50 cents, like 20 cents.
Comic books made in Mexico by
Mexico, yeah. So Mexican comics, yeah.
What are some of those titles? I'm curious.
Well, we had in Mexico there was this golden age of comics, but they were kind of like the naughty comics. Like we have like all these comics for adults, and they were like very big. Like they were called El Libro Vaquero. It's called the Cowboy Book, and they were stories about people getting late, and they are and they were pretty popular, among all the workers and among all the how do you call it?
About Tijuana Bibles. Is this what we're talking about?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah, it's pretty much kind of like that, but kind of they were kind of I don't know. They were very popular. El Libro Semanal. El Libro Semanal. That was Chambeadoras. We had I don't know. We had a lot of books, and they were really great, very well drawn, and that was kind of like some awesome stuff. Like we had Oscar Basaldua. He after doing all those naughty books, he went straight into Marvel, and he has some awesome covers and all that stuff. So they were mature comics that that delve into those themes. But as far as superheroes and all that stuff, that was a little bit more niche. We had the longest running series. I think we had two. One was called Karmatron. Karmatron was kind of like it dealt with all that Kundalini stuff, and they were warriors, and they were kind of like villain of the week. And they got around, maybe I can't remember if they were like 200 comics, and they were coming out weekly, drawn by one guy.
That must have been a factory. Weekly by one guy?
Yeah. Wow. Like it's the same, like like that's kind of like the same like manga, or kind of like the same on Italy. Yeah. One of my favorite comics of all time, it's called Cyber 6, and it was made in Argentina, but it was printed in Italy, and it was by this animator called Carlos Meglia. And I think that he's kind of like one of the hidden gems that the world had, because he has like this Cyber 6 expands around maybe I don't know, like 600 chapters, and not one of them it's not top-notch quality. Like even the biggest pros I know from the US, like they will have kind of trouble keeping up with Carlos Meglia on his art style, like with the quality that he provided like every week. Like he had like 20 to 40 pages a week on black and white stories, and yeah, he built some stuff, and the people from Mexico weren't far behind. Like they were doing like a lot. We had Kaliman. We have a lot of stories like real good. We had a lot of kind of like this Mexican manga boom, and we have this comic called Meteorix. Meteorix, you have this guy called Jorge Break, and he was drawing kind of this, trying to get the Japanese school's aesthetics with manga and superheroes into this weird kind of Ameri manga Mexican style. And he did maybe like 150 of these books, and they were big, and
Wow.
they were kind of big, these books. And I can't remember how many was how much was the page count, but you have people who are working there that got into Marvel. You have Gerardo Sandoval. He did a lot of work for Marvel. He drew the Avengers. He's kind of like this Joe Matt clone, but he has kind of his own kind of thing going on. And you have Lobo Cuevas, who is the inker who was inking Humberto Ramos. Obviously, Humberto Ramos. I mean, he was already a legend here. I mean, you could. The nice thing about Humberto is that you could find him everywhere. Like it wasn't hard finding him. Like you could. It was so common seeing him that I was kind of this annoying kid that always brought his portfolio and asked Humberto to give me some feedback, right? So yeah, that's pretty cool. And yeah, there's
He
some
was nice. He was a nice guy.
Humberto. Yeah, you could tell. Like we have some different opinions on stuff, and I was definitively rude to him
Oh,
sometimes, and I didn't knew because I was a kid, and I was an edgy punk rock kid, and I went to the fight stuff, and Humberto was nice enough to not reprimand me in front of everyone, but later on in life, like I tried to apologize, and he was like, okay man, but then he started he started kind of how would you say it? Like he started kind of being kind of this weird uncle that it's always trying to expose your side, your edgy, that side that you want to forget, and he was always bringing that up.
he was
So I
trying to
was like,
embarrass you.
yeah, he was trying to embarrass me, and I was like, oh man, no, yeah, I cannot do this. And yeah, but we still, I mean, we're not kind of like we're not fighting, and we just talk whenever we talk, and it was cool. Like I really have to thank a lot Humberto for helping me getting to the level I am because of his portfolio reviews. Like he was kind of like the only Marvel pro that we have around, and he was pretty cool with all the guys. So yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. What I'm a big fan of Love and Rockets and Hernandez
I
brothers.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I now forgive my ignorance. I know they're of Mexican descent, but are they Mexican from Mexico?
No, they are
They're
they were
American.
born in the US. Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned from Love and Rockets from the Cartoonscape Faith. Kind of they were making a review about them, and I was like, man, how could this? How did I never see this
Oh,
this
don't you
comics?
love that when you discover somebody that's like, oh my god, this is amazing?
Yeah, yeah. And there's other guy, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. He was big
Oh
on DC,
yeah.
and we always get like, oh, you're Jose Garcia Lopez, and I'm like, no, I'm just Jose Garcia. But Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, he's not from Mexico. He's from Spain. So
Oh,
so we are very different countries. But I have some fun stories because I always have kind of people that mistake kind
hey,
of
before that, Jose goes
yeah.
Lopez.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah. No, man, yeah, and people mistake me for him, and they've been sending me emails and stuff, and then I got a hold of the real Jose Garcia Lopez, and I talked to him and I told him like, hey man, someone's trying to reach out to you because they want to give you a prize, and I give him the email and stuff, and he was thankful, and then he come to La Mole Comic Con here in Mexico, and we talk a bit, and we were kind of friendly, and it was awesome. But from time to time, I get, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. Could you go to San Diego Comic Con? Can you come to France, to Spain? And I've been tempted to, just said yes and just grab the ticket and just run with it. But yeah,
you're not Jose Garcia Lopez.
Yeah.
That would be funny. Okay, ordering this on the Second Chance campaign. Who's the cigar chomping guy for the sketch cards? Reminds me of Brenton from Dominic Tank Police. I want to get a sketch of him.
Nice. So that's Praetor Ragnar. He's kind of this. We have this. We have the collision of planets, kind of the collision of the galaxies, and this guy is kind of like their main hero. He's the big mercenary hero. Like the thing with him is that no one kind of even the higher ups can't go against him. Like he did something legendary that nobody knows about what he did.
Yeah, they're kind of scared of him.
Yeah, he actually got
his or like they're in awe of him.
Yeah, they're in awe, but he has enough authority that he had his records erased because he wants to we will discover on the story why he did that, but he wants to remain kind of like I'm only the legendary hero from this, but I don't want to I don't want anyone to know what my motives are.
It will be revealed when it's time.
Yeah, it will be revealed. It is kind of one of these big story points. Like he does some stuff that seems kind of sketchy on the first volumes, but he has a good reason for that,
Okay, all right. What are your thoughts on Andrew Huerta? I'm afraid I don't know who.
Andrew Huerta. I've seen his stuff in. I had like just one of his comics, kind of from an anthology of pirates or something like that. And I think his stuff is cool. It's kind of like this 90 Joe Matt, Chris Bacalo, kind of this American manga kind of style. I don't know, cartoony. So I like the Sovereign. Yeah, Sovereign. So yeah, I like it. I like his stuff. It's kind of a little bit more cramped to me, but I like it. I definitely like it with the right colors. I think his stuff pops out really a lot. But with the wrong colors, it muddies out. Like I've seen like two of his comics, and the colors are just terrible, and you cannot tell what's happening from the background, the middle ground, and the foreground. So you pretty much kind of you're trying to decipher what's going on, and sometimes that's a headache.
Yeah, colors could ruin it. I this Sunday, I sat and I read this. And then I read book 2.
Nice.
And then I read 8-Bit. And then I read Fiendish. And
oh, nice. Irene is really awesome.
Yeah, it was the best Sunday I had in a long time. And when you said colors, I know the colors in this are outstanding.
Yeah,
the colors in your book are outstanding too. And you said you do those colors yourself, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a kind of like working in animation make me very quick. So. Right now, I'm around kind of the indie scene. I'm Comicsgate. I'm kind of working with the guys from Clownfish TV, which are Comicsgate adjacent. And, I'm still working on animation from time to time. They know I'm Comicsgate, but I'm not a big scalp, for people to cancel me or something like that. Like, I'm the guy who draws very quick that you cannot fire. I'm unfireable. Because I always get them.
I think that kind of stuff is waning.
It's waning. It's waning a lot, man.
I think I think people are sick of that.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah,
it's over. At least I hope it is. It was just nastiness.
It is kind of still there, but
It is
just
still there, but I think the worst is over.
yeah, the worst is over. And people knew that I was a CG when I was working, on different titles. I put out 12 books to since I got into Comicsgate. So that's and I did it kind of like I did all the art myself, different writers. I even work with Mike Barron, and I
Oh,
work
I love Mike Barron.
yeah, with Tiger Blue. Tiger Blue 3 is a campaign it's active right now.
Oh,
I'm drawing.
that was my next question. Do you have anything that's active? And if you do, send me links and I'll put it in the description.
Sure.
Yeah, send it to me on Twitter because
We're
once we
trying.
close out on this, I can't get into the comments and stuff.
Oh, that sucks. Let me give you the quick the link real fast. But yeah, I'm a very quick artist, so I have kind of this ability to work on
Oh, you're
several
quick,
books at
you're
a
good,
time.
and it's dynamic and it's exciting. You know what I mean? So like that's what should matter. You know, I'm sure you and I could, if we talk long enough, we could find something that we disagree on. So we're not, you should get me fired, I should get you fired. That's so freaking childish. Like Paul
Yeah.
said, they finally realize it's evil to make people. You know, your boy Zach just said that. Like, what is the end goal? Suicide? You know, that's what these people were trying to do.
Yeah.
You know,
Link
they didn't
sent,
have
by
the
the way.
balls to come out and kill you in person, so
Nah,
you
nah,
know,
nah.
they'll destroy your life like the Kingpin tried to do to Daredevil.
Yeah, man. So no, it's and I don't know, but it's kind of weird because
Okay, I got
since
your
they
link.
know that
I'll add them in.
awesome. Since I'm from Mexico, I don't think that I'm a bigger scalp for them. Like I'm not a trophy
Right,
for,
right.
for them to go after. So I can pretty much say straight up that I'm Comicsgate or Comicsgate adjacent. I don't know what to call it these days, but I'm an independent.
Yeah.
I work with the people I find cool. I mean, I'm not really bound to CG. Like I work with independent animation. I work with people like the Clownfish TV guys. They are not Comicsgate, but I like to work with them. They're kind of like this out of sphere, out of the mainstream. So I work with pretty much anyone. I think that they're doing something cool, right?
Yeah.
Like I got that. At least from my years of experience, I think I'm at the place where I can pick and choose who are my clients. And it doesn't really bother anyone. Like if I deliver, if I have to deliver like maybe 15 scenes for storyboard, they need it for like maybe in 2 or 3 weeks, and they can't find a guy. I'm always that guy, like
Yeah.
Gipho said that because he's gonna get us out of the problem. He's a problem solver. He's very quick and he's
Dependable.
very efficient. Yeah, he's dependable. So let's
Dependable,
go with Jose.
reliable. It means a lot.
Yeah, and yeah, my work speaks for itself. I like to think, and
Yeah.
yeah, so I didn't have much of troubles working with anyone. So yeah, I mean, whenever I want to work on something cool, or whenever I'm in the mood for drawing backgrounds, I go back to Netflix. I go back to DreamWorks, or I sometimes I'm in the mood for storyboards, and I ask around. Is there any action adventure kind of story that you're working on that we can that I can work on? And yeah, always it never fails. So it's really cool.
Did you get affected by the writer's strike?
No, not at all, because since I'm from Mexico, I could never enter to the front door working in the California, the California kind of animation scene. So it was very expensive. I was actually offered to go to California and live, but I was paying my house. I was paying the mortgage in my house and all that stuff here. So I decided that if I had the same kind of money living in California, I will be $2 away from being a hobo, being a
Yeah.
homeless person.
Yeah.
And if
I hear that. I live in New York, and I'm
oh
fortunate
man, New York, it's
to be. Construction workers don't do too bad, and I gotta say, it's just getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, I bet. New York is kind of crazy right now. Like
Yeah.
last time I went to New York Comic Con, like it was already getting bad. But one of my friends went, and he's kind of like this big New York Comic Con enthusiast. He's been going for, I don't know, maybe 10 years. I don't know how long has it been since it started, but he has gone to almost every single convention there. And last time he went, he told me that he was never going back. That New York got so bad that, like, he told me
Yeah.
like, no
I,
man, it's not
I
worth.
moved out of the city. I live out here in the suburbs now, and I can't believe I waited so long. The
Yeah.
neighbors are nice. You can hear birds in your backyard.
Oh, that's nice.
There was a deer on my front lawn a couple of months ago. It's just nice.
Yeah.
My wife laughs at me because I wake up on the weekends. The first thing I do is I open up the front door, I drink my coffee, and I just look. She's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm looking at the lawn. I'm looking at the trees, and I'm listening to the sounds of nature. It's nice."
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like even though I live in a like kind of Mexico City, you don't have the vibes like California or New York. Like here, I live kind of like on the south side of the city, but it's still the city. You still have like all the people and stuff, but it's still very calm. It's very calm. Like I could get out and I can feel pretty. I can get the, I can see the trees, I can see
Oh,
the
okay.
houses and all that stuff.
I've
And
been up and down Baja California.
oh yeah, that's kind of more like desert like,
Yeah, that's
kind of like, yeah, beach kind of
when I was a teacher. I would have the summers off, and I visited a friend, and I just like lived on the beach and slept in my car, and
yeah,
up and down
the
Baja
heat can get very bad in Baja California. Yeah.
But that's so I don't know Mexico City. I always wanted to go. I want to check it out. I'd love to. I'd love to go through Mexico. I love Mexico.
It has nice places. There's
Tijuana, but I when I was in school, we Juarez was
oh,
right by.
Juarez, yeah.
I never went to Juarez though, because a couple of my guys I knew had some bad stories about getting in trouble in Juarez, and I'm like, I'm not
Oh
going.
yeah, that's kind of the cartel stuff right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And I've been to Juarez kind of a couple times, and it's a little bit more American because the only place in Mexico where you can find an what's it called, Applebee's, no, well,
Oh, Applebee's, the restaurant, the
yeah, the
family.
restaurant. Yeah, the only place in Mexico where you can find an Applebee's is in Juarez. Like they have the whole franchise there,
Well,
but
this is 1993 when I was down there. So I'm sure things are different now.
yeah, I mean that's kind of I think that's Juarez is kind of like the more if you're American, it will be more familiar because they have more USA franchises there,
Yeah.
and it looks kind of like from my point of view, it looks kind of like a little bit of California, so it's kind of like an
Probably.
extension, but with colder weather, like whenever I even the people right there, like everyone's blonde, like, which is not kind of like your everyday Mexican from the rest of the country. So everyone in there, it's kind of blonde. They're tall. They're like well, I don't know how to I don't know how the length system work in the measurement system works in the US, but in Mexico it's like 180 meters. I don't know
Okay.
how much foot are those. Like that's kind of always baffled me that
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
Americans will measure everything.
Yeah, it is the English system that we use is really bizarre.
It's
I
yeah.
grew up with it, so I'm used to it. But when I talk to friends from other countries, I'm like, yeah, it is weird. It makes no sense. 5,280 feet in a mile.
Yeah, like, yeah, what the
It
hell?
makes no sense.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
really
so,
love the other kind of like the
yeah,
metrics.
I don't blame the Europeans and everybody else for teasing us about our system of measurements.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's very weird, man, and I could never tell. Like whenever they tell me like it's like 5'6", I don't know. I don't know how much that is.
yeah.
That's
Stop
five
talking
foot
about your
ten.
feet.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like yeah. So but they're taller than the average guy. So whenever I went to the US, like they are slightly taller than Mexicans. So in Juarez, they're kind of like the same kind of regular size as your regular American, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of different. Whenever you go there, you always like, oh man, these guys are they look very American, you know.
Yeah. All right. It's we've been talking for an hour, and I have to go to bed. I go to bed at 9:30. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
yes, and my wife's making she's Canadian, so she made a Canadian Thanksgiving dinner for us.
Oh
So
man.
yeah, because
That's awesome.
yesterday I had friends over for game night, so we couldn't have a Canadian Thanksgiving. So anyway, anything you want to say to bring us out? I'll put the link in the description after I post this.
Yeah, so back Lumina Box, back Tiger Blue 3. Right now we are trying to reach the goal for Tiger Blue 3. We are almost at half. We have like we're trying to reach 5K, so we can start doing this. This book is about the gods versus the mob, and we have this Tiger Blue, which is this tiger character, which is kind of like this. It is weird. Nazi experiment about this kind of this tiger kind of person, and in book one he had to fight his way through kind of this island of Dr. Moreau. Kind of
Cool.
he had to go to this kind of fight with his with the other experiments to get to know who will be the mafia enforcer, because the mafia was in cahoots with the Nazis in this story, and they're trying to get their enforcer, and Tiger Blue is the main enforcer. But after the big fight on Tiger Blue 1, he cheated death, and the gods of the outer realms weren't cool with that. So now in Tiger Blue 3, Tiger has to return to Chicago in the 20s. It was like maybe on the 30s, maybe. It was like 10 years before World War II. And he has to, join with the mob. And, he has to survive these two gods that come from the other life that are trying to take his soul. And he's trying to, he joins with the mob, and he's in this situation with he's very hurt. He's very battle damaged. So he has to survive, and you have all the mobs trying to defeat, these gods that are trying to take down Tiger Blue. So that's we're working on that, and we are really trying to get that funded. If more people, if we could get to 60 backers on Lumina Box Volume 3, I can start paying my flatters, so we can start popping some pages and maybe do some campaign sometime soon for Volume 3. Volume 3, I have written Lumina Box up to Volume 12, so
Wow.
there's enough room to do that. But I'm trying to get back into the scene. I'm trying to talk with people, building bridges, having these comics conversation, which are really cool. I mean, I've been enjoying myself a lot here.
Good.
And we're trying to make Lumina Box kind of sustainable, so we can start printing and getting more books, because it's a progressive story. You will have story progression, and it has a beginning written and an ending written. So so back Lumina Box now.
I liked it. I thought it was a fun book.
Oh, thanks a lot, man. I mean, I was really nervous about what people think about my writing.
That's normal.
Yeah. Everyone knows about my drawings, because I draw Graveyard Shift for John Malin. I did volume 4 for that. I did the Clownfish, a Crimson Rand book. I did a couple books here and there. I did Tiger Blue. I did Immortal Rising. I worked with the Wild Tales of Kyrie. I've been working in other smaller and bigger books, so I've been around. So everyone kind of knows my art, but nobody knows my
writing too.
Yeah, my writing, and I was kind of expecting some feedback.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. I enjoyed this. This was
Thanks
a lot
for
of
having
fun.
me.
And thoroughly enjoyed your books. Your art is outstanding.
Thanks a lot.
It's like kinetic. It almost moves on the page. So I'll be back in.
Thanks a lot.
So thanks a lot, everybody. I'm gonna get going. I got 15 minutes before bedtime. So bye. Thanks for showing up, everybody.
See ya.
And, if I gotta post this, and then I gotta edit to put the links in the description. So check out his stuff. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.